Hello, and welcome to What's That Behind You. Today, we're going to be taking a look at one of the most reportedly haunted areas in Australia, Blundell's Cottage. Darkness and death in the Down Under. We begin our story at a farmhouse on the outskirts of Lake Burley Griffin, an artificial lake in the heart of the capital, Canberra, Australia. This usual sunshine state takes a chilling and dark turn. Blundell's Cottage, or farmhouse, named for its long residing tenants, rather than the Gins, who were its first, or the Oldfield as its last of the long-standing families. Built by George Campbell of the local landed gentry clan, for William Ginn, the man charged with ploughing the surrounding paddocks owned by his benefactor. The ploughman's brood remained on until Will himself became a landowner, establishing Canberra Park near Gungahlin in 1874. Bullock driver George Blundell and his midwife spouse Flora moved in after the creation of the farmhouse. Not much is known why the Campbells left this residence. Tales lost to the ages, or mystery, you decide. This modest 3-bedroom farmhouse with ample acreage of land facing the man-made lake soon became home to George and Flora Blundell. Bullock driver George Blundell and his midwife spouse Flora moved in after the creation of the farmhouse. George was the son of a convict assigned to the Campbells of Duntroon. His mother was a woman of rather scandalous disposition. Throughout their time there, Flora, George's bride, gave birth almost like clockwork every 2 years. This left them finishing up with 8 children. The family needed a dwelling of large capacity to house the ever-expanding family. With the knowledge of this, they worked to create a larger living space, developing it into a sturdy, rough-hewn, blue crystal sandstone quarried from Mount Mayora and Black Mountain and local slab timber house, duly extended, bringing it to a total of 6 rooms. Never to be so vain as to name it after themselves, the house was christened Poplar Grove and was the home to the large family till George's death in 1933, 16 years after his wife's tragic passing. A shepherd and stockman with the apt surname of Oldfield came next. Harry and his eccentric wife Alice inhabited the picturesque, though rudimentary property for almost 30 years. Alice on her own for the last decade and a half, taking in boarders and never seeing dressed in anything but black following her husband's passing. In a century of occupancy, the amenities of modern life, water, gas and a sewer line were never part of the deal. Electricity was only connected once it was repurposed as a museum in 1964. And it was the precariousness of such conditions that led to its attached legends. And what of those legends? Our tragic story begins with the eldest Blundell child, and one of 3 girls, arriving the year after her parents moved in, and was also christened Flora for her Scottish-born mother. There's some familiarity with the general story. In 1892, when Flora was just 16, on a winter's evening, while ironing in front of a roaring fire, Flora got too close, her nightdress erupting into flames, scorching her body, horrifically damaging the majority of her flesh. No wonder she succumbed to her injuries the following day, dying in the early hours, not too far from the farmhouse. Following her passing was the funeral. Despite heavy rain, there was a large turnout on Sunday, August 14th, 128 years ago, for the teenager's burial, conducted by the well-liked Reverend Robert Steele in the Presbyterian section of the Queen Bayon Riverside Cemetery in 1846. 25 years later, also on a rainy Sunday, her mother would be laid alongside her. The handsome Mrs. Blundell, known for her devotion to home, church and God, had lived the remainder of her days in the place where her beloved child was taken from her. Imagine having to walk those halls knowing you had lost your eldest daughter to the flames. It would drive any sane person to wailing tears daily. These are said to be heard even to today. The echo of her former self is said to continue to inhabit the place that was home for all those tender years. Shadowy garden appearances, items moving about, apparently all of their own accord. The pervasive feeling that you're not alone within the confined space, even if this is the case. More disturbingly, a burning smell can be found throughout the museum. Noises heard, screams, shrieks of pain, and the sight of a woman laid in front of the fire. Smoky apparitions just out of view. People have also reported things being moved around the house. Some of the curators of the now Blundell Museum have said to felt a comforting presence throughout the house. A woman in white has been spotted walking through the house, only to fade from view. All these allusions to the supernatural are to be found in various sources and occasionally referenced by those who believe they have had an encounter. Another suggesting a figure, all in black, seen moving about within the building itself, might be a case of mistaken identity, and instead it's Alice Oldfield. The building was officially reopened on of all days, Friday the 13th of March, 1964, Canberra's 51st birthday. Present was Jack, also known as Joseph Blundell, last child of George and Flora, and at 86, the last surviving of his siblings. Still operating as a museum today, its shutterless windows are unblinking eyes that continue to overlook a modern city that has grown up and around it. Though small in stature, more than 160 years on since its creation, the spirit of Blundell's Cottage is undiminished, in all manner of speaking. Apparitions, smoky disturbances, and the sight of a woman walking through the gardens have all been stated by the curators and people visiting the museum throughout the years. Is it the nostalgia of the building, or are these people really seeing what they think? That was the story behind one of Australia's most haunted areas. If you've enjoyed this format, please leave me a like, comment below your experiences, and please consider subscribing for more videos just like this one every Monday. That being said, if you hear a shuffling foot or smell the charred smell of burning, remember one thing: you don't have to be afraid of what's behind you.